On this episode of the Flash Traffic Podcast, Eric and I discuss the U.S. strike on Iran, stealth bombers, Tomahawk missiles, Iran's retaliation on the U.S. airbase at Al Udeid, Qatar, and what this all means for the war in Ukraine. Okay, let's go.
Conflict, politics, military-industrial complex, technology, war. The Flash Traffic Podcast.
Yes, this is War Inc. War Incorporated.
Yes.
As usual. Let's begin with the whole point of going to war. And this is an interview yesterday on Face the Nation with Marco Rubio. So let me show you this. Let me pull it up. So basically, the interviewer was asking little Marco, was there intelligence to lead to attacking? Okay, here we go.
Saying there that the United States did not see intelligence that the Supreme Leader had ordered weaponization.
That's irrelevant. I see that question being asked on the media. That's an irrelevant question.
No,
They have
that is
everything
the
they need
key
to build a
point in
weapon.
U.S. intelligence assessment. You know
No,
that.
it's not.
Yes, it was.
No, it's
that
not.
The political decision had not
I know
been
that better
made.
than you know that, and I know that that's not the case.
But
Okay, now if you just watch that, and some of the sound bites on Twitter are just showing that she's saying the whole point of attacking Iran was that we had intelligence or some reason to believe that they were going to build a nuclear bomb.
The normal reason
And-
with Iran. That's the normal beef with Iran is that they're going to develop a nuclear weapon.
But
That's the
she's
usual
saying,
one.
Did we have intelligence that the Ayatollah Khomeini ordered the weaponization of their nuclear program? And little Marco is saying, no, it doesn't matter. It's irrelevant. And now that's the soundbite that is on 99% of the liberal media right now. If you just took that at face value, you just stopped right there, you would be like, Marco Rubio is a moron, right? Of course it's important, because that's the same way we got ourselves into Iraq, right? Weapons of mass destruction. That's the whole point. What's the reasoning? Now let's listen further. This is, you got to listen to the whole thing. And it's about another minute here.
I'm asking you whether the order was given.
And the people who say that, it doesn't matter if the order was given. They have everything they need to build nuclear weapons. Why would you bury things in a mountain, 300 feet under the ground?
Right.
Why would you bury why do they have 60% enriched uranium? You don't need 60% enriched uranium. The only countries in the world that have uranium at 60% are countries that have nuclear weapons, because they can quickly make it 90. They have all the elements. They have. Why do they have a space program? Is Iran going to go to the moon? No, they're trying to build an ICBM.
No, but
so
that's
they
a
can one day
question.
put a
That's a
warhead on
question.
it.
That's a question of intent. And you know, in the intelligence assessment, that it was that Iran wanted to be a threshold
How do you
state
know what
and
the
use this
intelligence
leverage.
assessment says?
I'm talking about
what
the
the
public
intelligence assessment
March
says?
assessment, and that's why I was asking you.
Exactly. Two things there. Iran is our enemy, and they would like nothing more than to build a nuclear weapon on all their missiles so they can become the next North Korea. That's what he's saying. And that, I believe that's absolutely true. Iran would love nothing more than to just go about their business, have these fake inspectors come and inspect fake nuclear weapon sites, and continue until they test a nuclear weapon, and now they're a nuclear power. Now they're ensconced, just like North Korea. And that's what you don't get if you don't listen to the full soundbite. And I think he's absolutely right. The second thing is, you don't know what the intel assessment was. You don't know what kind of intel the U.S. intelligence community had. So basically, shut up.
Then why don't you
Twitter reporter?
Then why don't you just release it to the public? Why don't you release it to the public then? It's already happened. What is the intelligence? You're not going to tell me the intelligence about Iraq either? You're not going to tell me about the intelligence about the fake nuclear weapons program in Iraq? So what are you going to tell the public? What are you going to tell the public and when? You've already done the hit. So what aren't you telling us?
Are we gonna tell the U.S. public everything right before we do something?
You already did it. So fake argument. You already did it. So what's the intelligence assessment now?
Yeah.
So what is it?
You have a point.
I'm a citizen. I vote. I pay taxes. So what's the intelligence assessment? Is Tulsi Gabbard going to
Iran
tell
is
us?
a bunch of assholes. That's the
that's
intelligence
probably
assessment.
so.
They're a bunch of assholes.
Is that as deep as it goes?
That's as deep as it needs to go.
Okay.
Iran's a bunch of assholes. We saw we had an opportunity because Israel took the first step because Trump couldn't do it. Trump didn't have the balls to take the first step, so Israel.
That's a very critical assessment.
Oh, I'm sorry. Iran.
That's critical.
Israel attacks Iran and shows the U.S. military-industrial complex, hey, it's okay. It's okay to go in the water. We already went in the water and tested it for sharks. No sharks in the water. It's okay to send your B-2 bombers in and blow everything up, because Israel already showed that there's absolutely no air defense in Iran, which is usually the case when we attack someone. Usually the case when we attack someone, before we attack, oh, Iraq has the fourth largest army in the world. They will kill. We estimate that 5,000 American soldiers will die in Gulf War I in the first 2 months.
So
we always overestimate our enemy when it comes to that.
Okay, good. Well, you should. Yeah. So what air defense systems did Iran use? Did they have? I'm sure they have some left. What systems did they use?
Shitty Russian Soviets.
So it's systems. Russian ADA systems. Do we know what type? S-300, S-400? Do we know what they had?
Probably. I will have to ChatGPT it, but I'm guessing they had S-300 Buk type systems. They did not have S-400 systems, but maybe they did. I don't know.
A unimpressive showing by the Iranian air defense enterprise?
Or you might say very impressive by the F-35 stealth fighter performance.
So you have an air defense system to provide air defense. It appears that they provided no air defense. Oh, so there's something wrong. It appears
very little.
So is it a technology problem? Is it a radar problem? Is it a maintenance problem? Is it a training problem? Their whole system didn't work. Israel went through them like taking candy from a baby, and it wasn't even hard for them. What is going on with Soviet air defense systems when you can just pick them apart? It's like target practice. They just found every ADA site they could find and whacked it with no loss. It's like playing a video game. How is the Soviet/Russian air defense system so bad technologically that you're literally doing target practice with it by airplanes?
It's just not right. It's just not built like even the S-400 is just not capable of interdicting stealth aircraft. You have to go to other means like super long range or super long frequency radars and weird things like that to even just pick this stuff up. So the pendulum has just swung back. You can't. You just can't defeat stealth aircraft with.
Use stealth aircraft? They use only stealth aircraft?
I don't know if they use only stealth aircraft, but if they had the F-35, which they do, why wouldn't they use that?
So I'm just wondering if they just use F-35.
Just let me throw this in here real quick. According to the nationalsecurityjournal.org, the Russian systems that were inside Iran at the time, S-35, possibly S-400 batteries, but they say that they might have been delivered in August of 2024, and I find that suspect because if you're Russia, how many S-400 systems are you going to be giving to Iran during that particular time period?
Yeah, enough to pay for the Shahed drones you're getting. That's how many.
Maybe that's the quid pro quo right there. They also apparently had SA-15 Gauntlet, so the Tor.
Whatever the U.S. and Israel was using, Russian air defense artillery is incapable, or is it just inept? Like, you can have fancy equipment. Are you maintaining it? Are you training on it? Are you ready 24/7, 365? Do you know how to integrate this? Do you need AWACS? There's a lot more than just having a system on there and, oh, I just press a button and I shoot a plane. I wonder if there's a whole host of things that made their national air defense system irrelevant. It's like playing a video game.
Yeah, Israel has 45 F-35s.
That's a lot. That sounds like a lot to me.
As of right now. That's a lot.
That sounds like a lot.
That'll get it done. That'll get it done. Right?
So they had their way with Iranian defense like they weren't even there. This wasn't even hard for them. It was easy.
Yeah, it was easy. Super easy. Conducting air defense.
I have a question.
Strategic air defense is, let me just say this. Strategic air defense, as we've talked about so many times on the podcast, it's expensive and it's hard to do. Case in point, F-35s, destroying your entire country. What were we going to say?
Yes, I agree with your assessment there, right there. It is hard trying to defend your entire country, every mile of your border from a sophisticated attack. And obviously the U.S. technologically is got to be the most advanced Air Force in the world. And obviously the Israeli Air Force is a miniature U.S. Air Force. Just like the Ukraine Army is a miniature Soviet Army, the Israeli Air Force is a miniature U.S. Air Force. So they have the best technology in the world. So Iran, sitting duck, your extensive air defense systems that you thought would provide some defense provided absolutely nothing. It was target practice. It was easy. Now your nuclear development sites are all destroyed until you can rebuild them in 5, 6, 7 years, 8, 9, 10 years, whatever.
Yep. So here's where they struck in Iran. So the Fordo site was the one that's most heavily dug in, hundreds of feet under the ground. And Natanz, that was where they're enriching uranium, and then a place called Asfahan, where they're also storing uranium, but probably moved it out. So apparently, according to the New York Times, it only takes about the trunks of about 10 cars to move all the 60% enriched uranium
That's not much.
Iran had. And, you can hide that anywhere. You can hide that in your basement.
Yeah, right.
Right. I don't think you want it in your basement. But so here's all the locations. So let's
right.
Here is a short video of the B-2 possibly dropping one of these GBU-57 massive ordnance penetrators. Let's see. Here we go. Here's a video. Let's look at the video. So it is the only bomb that can destroy the Fordo facility, that deep concrete underground. So let's take a look at this, and I'll make it bigger. Boop. There we go. I'll kill the sound, though.
That's pretty good sound.
Dramatic.
Pretty cool. So yeah, it's dramatic sound.
It's dramatic.
Yeah. That's a big bomb.
Just a video. Yeah.
That's my professional assessment. That's a big bomb.
Oh, from the Army guy?
2,700 kilogram warhead. That's so like almost 6,000 pound warhead.
No, 30,000. Yeah. 30,000 pounds.
How many kilograms? How many kilograms was it? 27 kilograms. Okay.
No, 27. What are you talking
2,700
like
kilogram explosives.
13,000.
So I guess you don't read too well.
Oh, you mean the explosive? I thought you were talking about the bomb.
That's kind of like when I use the word explosives, like words mean something. Just throwing it out there for you.
That's a big word for you.
5,940 pounds. I rounded up to 6,000.
Yeah. Okay. The whole bomb is about 30,000 pounds.
That's a pretty cool looking plane.
It looks cool. You know, it's cool, and we paid for it. Do you know how much a B-2 bomber costs? You know how much one of those costs?
Probably like hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Hundreds of thousands. You're good with
hundreds of thousands of dollars.
No, take a guess. Just one of those things. Look at that. Just take a guess.
$1.7 billion.
That's pretty close. That's
really?
Pretty close. Yeah. So the B-2 bomber, the Spirit, as it is known, cost about $2 billion a piece.
Oh my God.
Why is that?
Because it's made out of gold. It's made out of gold.
It is probably made out of like old crap now because it was built in like 1993. But back in the early 90s, the Air Force convinced everybody that they were going to make at least 100 of these.
Bullshit.
They're going to make it. No, listen. They're going to make at least 100 B-2 bombers. The cost is going to be low. It's going to be super cheap. It's going to be really good. I've been told it's the best bomber. Ended up, after the Cold War, they cut it to about 75 from 132 that they were going to make. And then Bill Clinton used the peace dividend to cut it to what we have now, which was 19. But at the time, they had built 21 of these. One crashed, blew up. The other doesn't work. We have 19 B-2 bombers, $2 billion apiece. And the Air Force now is about to release the B-21, the new version of this.
Oh,
and they
wow.
say they're gonna make 100 of these at least.
No, they're not. No, they're
not going to. And at 100, that would, if we build 100 B-21 bombers, that would be about $700 million apiece. But we're not going to do that. We're not going to do that.
That's made up.
Made
up nonsense.
The first five has cost about $2.5 billion apiece. Yeah, but apparently
they'll be targeted
they flew
for budget cuts. Yeah, they'll never do that.
Yeah, we can't build that many. Yeah,
They're
somebody convinced somebody that we're going to build 1,000 of these.
It's a political deal.
We're going to build 100,000 of these.
Right.
It's only going to cost you $1 million apiece. Yeah, whatever.
Yeah, that's how you sell it.
So they flew 7 B-2 bombers from Whiteman Air Force Base in Missouri. 37 hours round trip. They refueled multiple times over the Atlantic. It's a long flight. I complain about 9.5 hours.
That's a long flight
to Istanbul.
Good Lord, right? That's a long time.
So apparently they have microwaves. They got like a little kitchen. One of the pilots can lie completely flat, and they have little cots or blow up mattresses or whatever. And they have a bathroom in there. Probably have a gym because it's the Air Force.
You're making that
inside
up.
There.
I think you're making that up.
I'm making the gym part up.
Although it's probably not too far removed from the truth, though. Yeah.
The B-2 bomber can carry 2 of these GBU-57 30,000-pound bombs. It can penetrate 200 feet.
That's a lot.
200 feet. Bam. Yeah, that's a lot. Hey, let's take a look at some of the sites. So some of the battle damage assessment pictures. Just run through this. So here's a picture. This is the Asfahan. So this is the one that's not buried. Apparently, Israel struck all these sites with the square that's not filled in yellow. The IDF attacked this place in the initial round. And then the U.S. and the IDF came back and hit all these other sites. My thinking on this is why? What's in the other sites? Maybe centrifuges that they couldn't move. Once you start hitting it, aren't they going to start pulling stuff out of this? I don't know. Maybe they didn't have enough time. Maybe they
all
didn't
look
have
like
enough time for that.
Incredibly easy targets. I mean, like I said, it's just target practice. As long as you can have a guided bomb hit that building. I mean, this isn't hard to hit.
Yeah. No,
sitting ducks.
The ones on the surface, no problem. Your F-35 can do that, right? You don't need Tomahawk missiles or this bunker buster to do any of that. Okay, now here's the deepest buried one. It's the Fordo nuclear facility. And apparently they think they hit air shafts. And I have a picture from the New York Times I'm going to show right now of them hitting the air shafts, or at least what they think where they hit. Satellite imagery shows what may have been the specific target. So the title of this article is Satellite Images Show U.S. May Have Targeted Ventilation Shafts at Fordo.
Right.
Probably the most vulnerable points in the facility, one expert said. Okay, Yeah, got it. So they have pictures from 2009, 2011, as they were building this site. And they're like, oh, look, this is where the entrance is. This is where the ventilation shafts are.
Right.
Let's hit that. Most vulnerable.
Right.
That makes sense to me on the surface, right? Okay, yeah, you gotta have an air shaft that goes down into the facility. That makes sense. Must be the most vulnerable point. But then I was thinking, if you're going to build a highly defensible, top secret nuclear facility, wouldn't you have the air shafts kind of like make an L
Camouflage?
turn? Well, just turn, like make some bends and turns so they don't go straight down, so someone can't drop a bomb right down the air shaft, so they can't put a banana in the tailpipe, and then you're screwed.
That's a nice analogy.
Yeah, I think that I don't know. I don't know enough about.
That's a nice analogy.
I'm sure there's experts. There are experts in the Pentagon that do nothing but look at this site for the last 15 years.
Targeting specialists.
And maybe we have some human intelligence. Maybe we hired, some agent to go in there with some kind of inertial mapping thing, some kind of device.
Probably don't need to. Probably doesn't need to. This is all, satellite surveillance and imagery is going to get you all day.
Yeah. If you look down here, it says satellite images by Maxar Technologies. This is commercial. You can conduct your own intelligence cell and strike your own facilities.
Ukraine
with
can
drones.
do that.
Ukraine can do it. These images cost $100 a piece. You have $300.
Reasonably priced.
There you go.
They've made them very reasonable to get professional satellite imagery. It's cheap. It's easy now.
Yeah.
It used to be a big deal where only intelligent agencies can do this. That's old news. That is very old news.
We used to have to drop, in the 60s, we used to have to drop actual film canisters from the satellites.
Right. Oh, you're dating yourself if you know that.
Well, I wasn't alive in the 60s. I didn't see it happen. I'm just saying that they used to drop film canisters from satellites and airplanes used to fly under them and pick them up with giant nets. But now you can just click a button on your laptop and get better resolution imagery.
Right.
So let's talk about this. Two things. One, there was an article that said, I think it was in the Early Bird today. One of the articles was, for military deception, the DoD flew 2 B-2 bombers west towards Asia. And I'm thinking, okay, really? Who's going to be fooled by that? Who's going to be fooled by 2 go west, 7 go east? I just thought that was ridiculous. Who cares?
Well,
I don't think anybody cares.
They're planning for that. They still have some sort of tracking capability. They're doing the right thing. Probably unnecessary, but okay, they did it. It was successful. Hit probably largely unoccupied government facilities. Have a nice day.
And here's the interesting thing about the strike. The most interesting thing to me right now in the early reporting about the strikes, there was no air defense artillery against the B-2s. Okay, got it. Maybe they didn't have it there. Maybe it was destroyed. Maybe it's stealthy enough they didn't even see it coming. But no fighters, no Iranian fighters were interdicting anything. They weren't running racetrack patterns around these sites that they knew were going to be bombed into dust. Maybe the Israelis were flying F-35s there at the time, and there was some kind of coordination.
What aircraft do they have?
Well, they have F-14 Tomcats, right?
Okay.
There's a meme, and I couldn't find it because I wanted to bring it up because I knew this would come up. There was a meme of 2 F-14 Tomcats sitting on the tarmac in Iran, and
F-14s.
F-14s, right? That's Tomcats, or maybe I'm messing
up. Those are old.
Those are old
planes. No, those are old planes, dude. Those are old planes. Were those built in the 70s? Late 70s?
Probably earlier than that. 1970 was the first flight, according to GPT.
Yeah, these are
F-14
old planes,
Tomcat.
dude.
Supersonic twin engine. Yeah, there's a meme that shows two Tomcats sitting on the tarmac in Iran, and the title is "My Grandparents' Investment Being Destroyed by My Investment." I thought
So
that
they're
was funny.
just trolling them. They're just trolling them now, being very disrespectful.
I think it was funny. So, you don't want to disrespect the Iranian Air Force?
Very disrespectful to the Iranian Air Force. Their Air Force is probably as good as their air defense, like non-existent. They probably can't even get those off the ground.
Probably. Remember when Iraq was burying fighter jets in the sand? Remember that bullshit?
Yes,
Okay, here's a list from
yes,
ChatGPT.
yes.
ChatGPT says it got F-14 Tomcats, F-4 Phantoms. Oh, that's I
really,
think that's
dude?
not Vietnam era.
That's 60s
F-5
stuff.
Tigers. I don't have any idea what it
Sounds
F-5
like a trainer.
Tiger
Sounds
is.
like a trainer
I have
aircraft.
I have no. MiG-29s. Okay. And then they have some Mirages, like the first
Mirages ever.
Yeah. And then they think they have some J7 MiG-21 Chinese knockoff variants.
Oh, okay.
So basically have a bunch of shit, a bunch of
garbage.
garbage.
None of it worked out. None of it worked out as intended. They couldn't put up any
just
air
a bunch
defense.
of garbage. What a weak, what are they going to do? Are they going to fly these garbage planes against F-35s or even F-16s?
No chance.
F-15, F-15s?
No chance. No chance.
Nothing. You got nothing.
No chance.
So
no chance.
Basically, the United States and Israel now has complete air superiority over Iran. And this lends itself to something more than simply bombing the crap out of that country. This lends itself to some interesting follow-on operations, I think. You can infiltrate special forces troops in there, parachute them in. You can do ISR, like extensive ISR now. We can fly Reapers in there to just look at everything.
Maybe.
And occasionally send a Hellfire and whatever. If this war continues, which it probably should if Israel and the U.S. is smart, we're going to see a lot of stuff flying in there. And the Navy used Tomahawks. The Air Force used the B-2 bomber, but the Army didn't get in on it. The Army didn't get anything. And they're sad. And the Army's going to want to fly some Apache helicopters in there just for good measure. So I predict in the next week, we are going to see some kind of Army helicopters, at least Reaper drones flying in there. Because the Army's got to have their
see how
piece.
It goes. I got a question for you.
Sure.
How does this impact Ukraine? So you've got this partnership.
Let's save that for the end.
Oh, kind of thought it was the end, but okay.
What?
Thought it was the end. Okay.
Dude, I've prepared a statement along those lines. So let's wait until the end. Okay, this just in. We have to talk about this because I did want to talk about what does this mean for U.S. bases in the Middle East. And this just in, about 20 minutes before we started this podcast, apparently Iran attacked Qatar. And the largest U.S. military base in the Middle East is in Al Udeid, Qatar. So let's go to let me see. Let me share this screen. So this is from the New York Times. And it is live update. Iran fires missiles at U.S. base in Qatar, Iranian officials say. Al Udeid is the largest American military installation in the Middle East. And here's a map of Al Udeid Air Base. There's not a lot of information on this, whether any missiles struck. Apparently, there was some loud explosions around the capital city of Doha. I have lived in Al Udeid Air Force Base for, I think the total time I've lived there is a year and a half with TDYs, and I was stationed there twice at that Air Force Base. at the CAOC, the Combined Air and Space Operations Center. So interesting. How are they going to be? How are they going to protect?
Place?
No, total giant shithole in the desert. Giant stinky shithole. Worst place I've ever been. It's super hot. It's right on Qatar. Is right on the coast.
It looks like the face. So it looks like the face of the moon.
It is exactly like that. Nothing but dirt and rocks everywhere. And it's right on the coast, so it has that coastal influence. So you wake up in the morning when it's still cool and it's only like 90 degrees out, and it's foggy because of the coastal influence. And then it just gets super humid and hot. And I think the heat index at the hottest point is like 150. It was 160 degrees heat index. Just Al Udeid Air Force Base, Qatar, the most outrageously giant shithole on the planet. You talk about being stationed in Greenland, in Thule Air Force Base, or whatever they call it now. I've never been there, but I think this is worse. I'm sure people would disagree with me. But let's look at the U.S. Air Force bases in, let me see if I can find this. Okay, let's share this screen. Here's a list.
They're the predictable targets. Those are predictable targets.
Yeah. Here's
that's what they're going to go for.
Here's a list
that's
of
what they can go for.
I'm now showing a map that shows all the U.S. U.S. military bases in the Middle East for the most part. We have
those are all those rectangles.
Yes.
No, that's quite a bit.
Little squares. That's
quite a bit.
Yeah. I think there's, I forgot the number. Is there 20,000 or 30,000? I think it's 20,000 U.S. military personnel in the Middle East right now.
I just counted 23 Oman, bases.
UAE, Qatar, Bahrain, Kuwait, which I was also kind of deployed there for a while, like 6 7 months.
Don't want to go there again.
Yeah, also a shithole.
Correct.
Iraq, Kurdistan.
Good Lord.
Syria.
Keeps getting
2
better.
different places. Israel. Yeah, it's getting worse. Turkey, Saudi, and Egypt and Djibouti. Of course, we're running operations from Djibouti, blowing up people.
Well, that's a critical place because that's a choke point going up to the Suez Canal. That's a strategic global choke point.
Yeah. Important.
That we don't mess around with. Yeah.
HOA, JTF HOA, Horn of Africa, Joint Task Force. Anyways, so this is the missile ranges. Short range missiles from Iran, 435 miles. The map shows all the military bases, including Qatar, Al Udeid. And then medium range missiles, 1,200 miles, still can reach out and hit Djibouti.
Right.
That would, yeah. So interesting. How are they going to protect those bases?
CRAM?
Maybe CRAM. Maybe. I don't know if you think a CRAM.
Yeah.
So you think a CRAM will protect against a ballistic missile going hypersonic when it comes
Patriots. In? There's your answer. Patriots.
Sure, Patriots. How about FPV drones? If I'm in Jordan and I roll up a shipping container like a Connex full of FPV drones, there's no defense against that.
So you're talking about if Iran can pull off what Ukraine did.
Yeah,
right.
Operation Spiderweb.
Well, I wouldn't discount anything, but the answer for that drone on a fixed base is CRAM. It's going to be the same thing.
Yeah, I
we'll
guess
see
you're
how
right.
good it works. I mean, I've seen CRAM in action. I don't know. Is it going to work against 100 tiny UAVs? I don't know. Probably not.
They didn't. Operation Spiderweb, they didn't fly. They only flew one at a time, right?
Yeah,
There was only one FPV drone coming at a time. I would hope a CRAM, and we're talking about a CRAM, which is a kind of high-speed Gatling gun that shoots like 3,000 rounds a minute. Is that what the rate of fire is? And
It's
I think
fast.
it's 25 millimeter. So it's a big round. It's going fast. Don't quote me on that. I'd have to chat GPT that.
But Russia doesn't even have that. Well, they don't even have
They
that.
have the equivalent on their
They don't even
ships.
have a CRAM. Oh, right, but they don't
They
even
have
have
something
that
equivalent on ships.
at their air bases. Ships don't defend air bases.
Okay.
So
no,
when
you
Ukraine
think
did
they'd have
spider
some-
web, they didn't even have any defense whatsoever for any type of air attack. They had
Well, that's
literally
because
nothing.
Russia's completely screwed up. Sorry, correction.
Correct.
It's 20 millimeter
That's a big
Vulcan
round.
rotary chain gun.
That's a big
and
round.
It fires 4,500 rounds a minute on the land-based one. I don't know if the phalanx, the what do they call it? The sea-based one? I guess that's what do they call it on the ships?
That sounds fast to me.
Yeah. That's a
That
lot.
sounds fast to me.
Yeah.
A lot of rounds. It
But
takes
you're-
maintenance. It takes ammo. It takes training. There's a lot of stuff to make that work. And the U.S. does that. The U.S. is one of the countries that does maintenance on equipment and weapon systems and trains their people. So at least you know on a U.S. base, whatever systems they have, they're going to work. You can't say that about Russia or Iran, apparently. Like you have no idea if they work. Probably won't.
It's not going to jam on the first.
Not going to jam. No, it's probably going to work. No.
We hope so. We hope so. Well, let's wrap it on what does this mean for Ukraine? Well, first of all, we could look at it from Russia's perspective, right? The fuel prices are going to go up. They have gone up. That's good for Russia because they get 30% of their budget from petroleum products. So that's good for Russia. Russia does not seem to be rushing to Iran's aid.
Why?
Do they? Because Russia is Russia. It's an unreliable partner.
Let's see how stupid Iran is. We need more air defense systems from Russia. It's not that our entire system and enterprise didn't work at all. We need to double or triple what we got. Then it'll work. Maybe they're that stupid that they never realize what exactly their problem is, and they double down and buy more. That's what. Otherwise, where are you going to go? What are you going to do? Where are you going to go? You have no air defense enterprise for your entire nation. What do? You're going to get more from Russia? Or are you going to be like, your stuff doesn't work at all? Why did we waste a nickel on your junk that we just spent hundreds of millions on this and it got blown up in a day? Like, now what do you do for air defense?
Iran is not going to have any air defense recourse for 10 or 15 years.
I think you may be right. Where are they going to go and what are you going to get? Because you always went to Russia. You're going to go to China.
You got to go to China.
You're going to go to China.
The world is going to be scrambling. The world, including China, is really going to be scrambling after this to figure out how do we defeat the F-35.
Good luck.
There's no defense against it. Just like there's no defense on the battlefield against FPV drones.
Right.
There just isn't.
What do you do for, let's say, North Korea? Like North Korea, you think your stuff is any better? Or, any better defended?
Probably not, but they already have nuclear missiles in the silos. So they're
okay. So we'll hit those. Yeah. So okay. So we hit them in the silo. How many do you got?
Yeah,
how many do they got?
Hit them
you think
all,
they got 1,000? Right? Yeah. Right. You know what? I'm going to tell you, that's an easy process.
I think we hit
them in the silo. That's easy.
Well, here's the question. Let me pose this scenario to you. Do we fly F-35s around Pyongyang and hit other targets just to kind of see if we're invincible, or do we go straight for the missile fields?
That's a nonsensical question, and I take it as such. Like I got it.
All right.
But
I guess we go straight for the missile fields.
Yeah. If I'm North Korea,
okay. Of course.
I mean, I know they're a bunch of no talent ass clowns, but if you have any sort of like analytical thought, you can't see this and be sitting happy. Oh, no, we're different, bro. We got this. No. Our systems are well maintained and we check them once every 7 years, and that would never happen to us. Just like the U.S. and NATO can deny what's going on in Ukraine with ubiquitous drone warfare, I'm sure you have other countries who are going to deny that this is exactly the scenario for you. This is exactly how it's going to go down for you. You too have no recourse. You two are nothing but sitting targets. And if it goes down, it's going to go down like this.
If Europe defeats Russia, and Israel flatten Iran, and then we somehow take out North Korea, China will want to join NATO. China will sue to join NATO.
Okay, maybe.
Taiwan, the Taiwanese must be sitting back and being like, oh, thank God. Trump actually
observing.
did something. God, they got to be a sigh of relief, right? If you're
also
Taiwanese,
another question.
You have to be like,
right.
oh, thank God, Trump finally did something. Showed some balls.
Another question, reference, how does this impact the Iranian-Russian relationship? So I don't even know, does Iran provide Shaheds to Russia, or is Russia building their own clones?
I believe they're building their own, called the Garan. I think they're building their own now.
So maybe they don't need Iran. So maybe they don't need Iran for anything anymore.
They don't need them anymore. I don't know how many they were getting. Yeah, they're like, thanks.
They copied it. They stole it. They don't need it anymore. Okay.
Basically pulled to China.
So I was just wondering.
China stole your shit.
I'm just wondering if Iran is obviously distracted by this. How long will they be distracted by this? Can they, I don't know what measure of support they provide Russia other than the Shaheds. I'm sure they're giving them old Soviet artillery rounds too and nonsense like that. I wonder just how distracted are they? Are we going to talk about how Iran's enterprise has largely been dismantled in the Middle East?
Yeah, I mean, that is going to hinder them retaliating, right? I thought it was funny because the headline in the New York Times is something like, let me see if I can find it real quick.
You keep it on the floor? You keep your news on the floor?
Well, I have a lot of stuff to go through.
Can you put it on your bookshelf?
There's a lot of stuff happening. Okay. The title above the fold, New York Times today, U.S. claiming severe damage. Warns Iran not to strike back. Okay, don't strike back.
Have a nice day.
Yeah.
Of course they're striking back.
Of course they're going to strike back. You think that Ayatollah Khomeini can just sit back on his ass? He would be hung up by a light pole in a week from now if he did nothing. But without Iran's proxies, who are hiding in caves somewhere right now because Israel has bombed the shit out of Gaza, look, how are they going to retaliate? It's going to be a lot harder for Iran to retaliate. They're going to do it.
Can you look at Hezbollah leadership?
They already started today. They just started.
Hezbollah leadership.
I don't think that's going to be
very damage. Probably still disorganized with Hezbollah. Syria has gotten rolled. The entire country got rolled by a Sunni competing organization. Your Shia Alawite connections gone. Hamas is basically destroyed for the time being in Gaza. Houthis have been hit on the nose with a rolled up newspaper a couple times. Yeah, you're like, largely their network has been dismantled or degraded in the Middle East. All their big pieces have been taken out, or at least substantially for the time being. What are they going to do?
Yeah, they're not going to do anything except missiles.
Yeah, they'll do what they can.
Some drones, some missiles.
Yeah. Do what they can.
I think regime change is definitely on the table, as much as every single one of the Trump administrative idiots. Pete Hegseth said regime change is off the table. Little Marco was regime change is not on the table. Tulsi Gabbard probably said that, although I did not see her say it on the news feeds.
So they don't want regime change in Iran.
Except Trump came out
and said the opposite.
Said the exact opposite, of course. let me see if I can find the Trump tweet.
I know he said the complete opposite. Yeah.
While I'm trying to find that, let's talk about what this means to Ukraine. I think it means very little to Ukraine because the United States is already out. We're already out of Ukraine.
Right, largely.
Completely, except for maybe intelligence support. But a lot of that intelligence support is, not transferable to the Middle East. A lot of those satellites, a lot of that human intelligence, that stuff is not transferable. You can't just, decide that now you have case officers that are going to work Tehran instead of, Kyiv and Moscow. It doesn't work like that. So a lot of those military and intelligence community assets are already, they're fixed on Europe. So that's not going to change. We are already not going to support Ukraine moving forward at all, material-wise. And Europe is not really concerned with the Middle East at all, or China. So Europe's focus will continue to be on Ukraine, minus the one-offs of France caring about their former colonies in Libya or something like that. It's not going to change. Nothing's going to change for Ukraine on this.
Temporarily.
Temporarily, right?
In the short run.
Sure, except for the price of fuel. It's going to give a bump to Russia.
All right, we shall see.
Yeah,
I'll be curious to see what Russia's reaction is, if any. They're like, got nothing to do with us. What do you want from me? Our entire air defense enterprise doesn't work, and that makes me think of how degraded Russian ADA has been on the front in Ukraine, and how you're seeing more and more CAS by Ukraine there, effectively because Russia can't plug the holes anymore on the front. Interesting. Their stuff isn't that good.
Yeah, I mean, look at this. The screen share I have up now.
Oh,
it
boy.
is basically, it says, NATO cancels Ukraine meeting at the Hague summit. So the NATO summit, they canceled the Ukrainian, which is bad. That's bad. The Trump administration is really pushing hard on Europe now to forget about Ukraine. So that's a bad thing.
What's the strategic intent of that? Besides rolling over for Russia and being a Kremlin meat puppet.
It's rolling over for Russia. It's
okay. There is no strategic logic to it.
Glad-handing Russia. Yeah, that's it.
Right.
That's it.
Well, I wonder, and we'll obviously talk about this in the future, if Ukraine doesn't need the U.S. Ukraine and Europe doesn't need the U.S. They've done enough. The entire Russian military has been demechanized. They no longer can do maneuver warfare, cannot do armored warfare. They're incapable of it. Their whole system's been destroyed. They can do motorized warfare on dirt bikes and ATVs. I got it. Difference between mechanized and motorized. Difference between armored and motorized. Perhaps the Russian military has been degraded enough. I don't think the ships are coming back. I think their air force is declining. I think their air defense is declining. It's World War I. Can Ukraine hold off with the assistance they get from Europe, trench warfare in World War I? That's the question.
Well, we're gonna see.
We're gonna
find out. I mean,
we're gonna find
by
out.
the end of this summer, we'll know. By the end of the summer, by September and October, we'll know.
And I'll ask my question. Again. Where's the summer offensive?
Yeah.
Where is it? There's no summer offensive.
No idea.
It's made up.
It's coming. I'm sure it's coming.
July.
Here's
Not June,
the
it's
Trump
July.
quote. Here's the Trump quote on regime change. Quote, "It's not politically correct to use the term regime change, but if the current Iranian regime is unable to make Iran great again, why wouldn't there be a regime change?" And then he ends with MIGA, which I'm only assuming, make Iran great again. MIGA.
MIGA?
MIGA? Maybe it's MIGA.
MIGA?
Make Iran great again. MIGA. Really great people there in Iran. It's not about the people. The Ayatollah has got to make a decision. It's really good. Anyways, let's end on this because we like to track all the assassinations. We are kind of, that's kind of our side hobby, his assassination attempts and
Side hustle.
successes. That's our side hustle here at the Flash Traffic Podcast, Assassinations. Okay, the title of this RBC Ukraine article that came out today is Ukraine's Security Service Chief reveals foiled assassination attempt on Zelensky in Poland. Ooh. Apparently, when Zelensky was at the Rzeszów airport, the Russians recruited a Polish national to assassinate him. They don't give the details because it's too early. There's not a lot of details about it, but they believe, of course, it was either FPV drone or sniper. Now, I have been at the Rzeszów airport no less than 10 times in the last 3 years, because that is a major ingress route into Ukraine, because you can't fly into Ukraine on commercial airliners. So you have to fly to close airports like Chisinau, Moldova, or Rzeszów, Poland. Interesting fun fact here you can see on my screen. Rzeszów is spelled R-Z-E-S-Z-O-W, and it is pronounced Rzeszów. So apparently Zelensky just dodged a bullet, maybe literally dodged a bullet.
Yeah, expect
or
more
an
of that to
FPV
happen.
drone.
That's how it
We
goes.
don't know yet. Yeah,
That's how it goes in his line of work.
You're
a target.
It's an occupational hazard. But the good news is he lives to fight another day. So that is our little Iranian war roundup. We are officially at war, right? We're officially at war with Iran. I mean, how can we not be? We haven't declared war, but do we ever declare war? Do we ever officially declare war? I don't think we do. I think we just bomb the shit out of people.
Yeah, not anymore. That's old thinking.
What's your over under on U.S. boots on the ground in Iran?
What? For what?
What do you think? What's your
for what?
Probability of that happening?
Zero.
I don't know.
What would be the point? What's
Zero?
the point of it? What's the point?
I don't know. I don't know. We got to take over some sites.
It'd be nonsensical.
We got to physically get in there, get some bulldozers in Fordo. Dig it up. Make sure we hit it. What about some operators? What about some special forces stuff?
What's that got to do?
Limited attacks. I don't know.
What can you do
You're
that
the
a
special
bomb
forces
can't
guy.
do?
You tell me.
Yeah, I know what I'm going to tell you.
Saying...
Drop a bomb.
Okay. Did the special forces officer just say, what can an ODA do that a bomb can't do? Did you just say that? I'm going to quote you.
Yeah, why would you do that?
I'm going to send it to everybody you know. Eric Lyon says, okay.
Why would you do that? So when you're looking to destroy a building, why would you do anything other than drop a bomb on it?
You tell me.
Well, you got to think it through. So another nonsensical statement.
What would you use the special forces for in small amounts inside Iran right now today? Clear a way for the Apache helicopters? Blow up the S-300s so the Apache helicopters can fly in and say they did something this war? Hey, we got a piece of that war. We flew 6
Now you're
Apaches.
being snarky.
I am.
Now you're just being snarky.
I am wearing my West Point t-shirt today. Just FYI. For your benefit.
Where generations of young Americans learn to win the battle at Gettysburg.
Duty, honor, country.
Over in Gettysburg.
Duty, honor, country.
Duty, honor, Gettysburg. We will refight Pickett's charge every year for eternity.
I hope so.
Good job.
All right. Good chat. Thank you.
Okay.
Good chat. I will talk to you Wednesday.
Long gray line. Long gray line. Yes, sir.
Never failed us.
Yes, sir.
The Flash Traffic Podcast.